A younger builder came up to me and said, "Mate, you're crushing it. I look up to you." And instead of feeling good in that moment of, wow, someone recognized my show reel, I felt extremely guilty because I felt like a bit of a fraud. But because I knew the truth, it wasn't all roses. I could see all the messy behind the scenes of what was actually going on. And he was seeing my own show reel where in reality, they've been really hard times. There were really, really hard times that they couldn't see. But that's when it clicked. I was now someone else's highlight reel. I was holding my behind the scenes up against everyone else's highlight reel. And now I was someone else's highlight reel doing the same damage I've been letting others do to me. That's how someone else perceived what my business was doing. So I was trying to work out, well, how do you actually break that comparison habit as a business owner? And here's the shift for me. Someone bumped into me at a coffee shop and said, "Mate, I've been watching all your videos. You guys just are crushing it. It looks incredible." And I smiled and I said, "Thanks." But in my head, I was thinking like that incredible was 3.5 years of my life with floods, COVID, sleepless nights, and a few moments that I actually just wanted to walk away and pack it all in. And here's what nobody puts in the show reel. By the end of this, you'll see the highlight reel for what it is. And you'll stop measuring your messy behind the scenes against everyone else's best 10 seconds because that one habit was quietly killing my drive. Let me tell you what that comparison game did to my head. There was a stretch where I'd open Instagram and feel like my whole entire world as a business owner was falling apart because everyone else's looks perfect. I was scrolling the feed at night after a big day at work and just looking at all these other builders that were doing great things, crushing it, bigger jobs, glossier photos, all the awards, you name it. Whether it was on the Gold Coast or whether it was around Australia or even, in the US and around the world, that's what I was feeling. And it made me frustrated and impatient because I was like, well, what am I not doing right? Am I falling behind no matter how hard that I work? Like, why don't I have that outcome? And I got to tell you, like, perception is a killer because I was holding my reel, like my messy day up that I'm experiencing personally up against everyone else's polished highlight reel that they've probably spent hours doing. And the worst part is that none of it was even real. It was everyone's best angle and best moment in like that 10 to 30 second like post on a social platform. And it honestly did my head in. There was times where I would sit there for like 3 hours would just disappear one night. And at the end of it, I'm like, well, I'm definitely never going to be like that. Or why is my business not operating like that? How am I not further ahead than what I think I should be? Why aren't I them? Then something flips for me and it came from a really unexpected place. A younger builder came up to me and said, "Mate, you're crushing it. I look up to you." And instead of feeling good in that moment of like, wow, someone recognized my show reel, I felt extremely guilty because I felt like a bit of a fraud. He was seeing everything that we put on social media, just like every other business. But because I knew the truth, it wasn't all roses. Like I could see all the messy behind the scenes of what was actually going on. And he was seeing like my own show reel where in reality, they've been really hard times. There were really, really hard times that they couldn't see. But that's when it clicked. Like I was now someone else's highlight reel. It didn't feel good, to be honest. And the exact thing that was wrecking my head was his as well, because he said straight after that, it's like, why, like, how did you get there? I'm in this position. I haven't got that far ahead and I'm struggling. And it seems like you guys got it all together. And I vividly remember a mentor telling me, if you benchmark your success off he did this, I did that, you'll be forever miserable because it's never a clear playing field and it's never a good comparison. I was holding my behind the scenes up against everyone else's highlight reel. And now I was someone else's highlight reel doing the same damage I've been letting others do to me. Not intentionally, but again, that's how someone else perceived what my business was doing. So I was trying to work out, well, how do you actually break that comparison habit as a business owner? And here's the shift for me. I was comparing my full, messy 24 hours of chaos to someone else's best 10 seconds, like I said. It's not a fair fight. It's not even real, to be honest. And look, I didn't cure this overnight. It's a habit that I've learned to manage, not a switch that you flip instantly, but naming it changed everything. And the result is, look, years of pain that you never see another business going through. The overnight success is a myth. Like I was comparing my chapter 3, third year in business at the time, to someone else's chapter 20. Guys that have been doing it for decades, that had the experience, that had done projects that I was like striving up for. They could do it in their sleep and they're doing the next level up for them. And I remember my apprentice, actually in a similar context, being on site with me, like we're doing some foundations, and I was in the digger doing earth moving. He was trying to clean a hole out. I was on the phone organizing, a meeting on the next sales call with the team in the office, in between drilling the holes for the foundations, showing him how to site till, dealing with deliveries as well. And he said to me, I'm like, how are you doing all of this? Like, how can you, because I picked up, I'm like, if you just move your shovel in one direction, like the opposite way, you'll be able to clear it a lot faster and you won't get as tired. And he's like, how do you have time and mental capacity to have that granular insight into what I'm doing and then be on site, but also have other stuff going on that I can overhear you on the phone talking about? And he's comparing his year 1 apprenticeship to my 25 years as a builder and business owner. So the only fair comparison is your own personal today versus what you were personally a year ago. So here's exactly what I did to get my head straight out of that whole entire comparison, framework. So I had to work out, how do I stop this social Instagram feed from doing my head in? And here's what worked for me. I changed what I fed myself. I stopped doom scrolling every other builder in the world. I got choosy about who I followed, and I mainly aimed around educational and business outcomes that could help me get further in my own journey. And I started measuring, most importantly, reflecting back on where was my last year in business and have I grown further than where I am now? And if so, in what areas? And I actually wrote it out. Like last year I was doing X amount revenue. This year I'm now doing, I actually doubled my revenue in a 12-month period. That's pretty crazy. I'm doing this average project volume. Now I'm doing this average project volume and developments. And that sort of started to help me get out of this whole entire measuring myself against someone else's further on journey outcome. And remembering under the iceberg, I love this whole entire analogy. Like the top of an iceberg is the 10% that you see. 90% of it's below the water that no one else sees. So a shared real story is the antidote. So I've been trying to share the real story for myself personally in my own head and out on socials, not just the polished result. Because builders supporting other builders in the realities of business in that particular company has been super helpful for me. And when I admired someone, I actually reached out to them and wanted to have a conversation with them and found out, you know what? They're struggling just the exact same way that I am. They're just dealing with bigger problems, different problems. And often they're like, yeah, I hit that roadblock, or I did this. Maybe you could implement that. And suddenly it helped unlock my growth faster and change my perspective that I'm not the only person going through this, which as a business owner, you can easily think. And I did for many, many years. And I found getting a group of people around me who tell me the truth, not sugarcoat things, and not just show me their highlight reel, have an honest conversation around it in a really win-win conversational way, in an honest way, has been super valuable for my growth personally as a business owner and also what to do and look forward. So the reason we're struggling with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes. I'll say that again. Stephen Furtick, great guy, beautiful quote. He says, the reason we're struggling with insecurity is because we compare our behind the scenes with everyone else's highlight reel in life. So what did all letting all of that go actually get me. So when I changed and stopped playing the comparison game, a lot more than I expected changed. Like I got my drive back, I got my motivation back because I was running my own race instead of someone else's, or thinking that I'm always behind the 8 ball. I made better decisions for what my business needed because I wasn't chasing what looked good on a feed or what another business either further ahead or in the startup phase, earlier stages behind mine, was actually doing. I could just focus on what was the now and ready present thing that I needed to do. And I felt lighter. I felt less frustrated because I was less impatient because I wasn't trying to get somewhere else faster. I was just dealing with it now. And I was actually really grateful for where I was in business. Even if sometimes things weren't going great, I could always look back and go, well, I'm not there. And that's where I was a year ago. And just brought it back to what we'd actually built and that comparison back to what I was doing. The build everyone called incredible, which was Mountain Home and Kingfisher sort of back to back over a 5-year period. It was on Open Homes Australia, it was on TV. We had heaps of coverage. That was 5 years of floods, COVID, and grinding. And once I stopped thinking like that was a hard year, I wasn't successful because I didn't make as much money as I wanted, or it didn't get built as fast, or whatever it was. I just needed to own that. And I did. I owned it. I'm like, it was a hard period. It wasn't the best growth in my business that I expected or I wanted out of the deal. I had all these external factors that were part of it. But you know what? We delivered those projects on time, within the client's budget, and it was a great result. Owning that and the praise of stopping, like acknowledging the gratitude and the end outcome in my business, it stopped messing with me comparing that to other people. And the hard parts around that becoming something I was proud of. Like, if that happens again, I know how to deal with that because it was a hard period and I'm still here making it through. So the one thing that I encourage anyone to do that I learned from is like when you catch yourself comparing your business or yourself personally, ask yourself one question. Am I better than I was a year ago? Because that's the only scoreboard that matters. Here's what I remember. Everyone's showing you their best 10 seconds. You're living all of yours. So stop comparing the two. Run your own race. It's really the only way you can win. And that's what I found anyway. I'll see you next week.